I'm here today to talk to you about the only peripheral nerve stimulator system we're going to talk about today, which is with a specific company, SPR Therapeutics. And what's unique about this system is that it basically has a microfilament lead. It's really, really tiny. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but I'll just lay it across the skin here. It's a coiled lead, which allows for elasticity, which is one of the issues with peripheral nerve stimulation in general. So this little thing right here, if you guys can see that, that's the little tiny lead. And I can even stretch it out here for you. You can see that it's elastic, so it pulls apart in and out. Furthermore, because it's coiled, it actually has a very, very, very low infection risk. And one of the reasons for that is pathogens may have a difficult time finding their way down the lead as compared to some of the SCS leads that are commonly used for peripheral nerve stimulation. That's a pure cylindrical lead. That might be more prone to infection than with this system. There are many, many different indications for the use of this system for peripheral nerve stimulation. Recently, they did obtain head and neck labeling, so it does allow for use for the head and neck. But you'll see it used everywhere. Last year, I did this for the shoulder. We do this for the knee, for the calf, for the heel, for the groin, for the forearm, for the wrist. So you can use this in so many places. What we're going to talk about today is stimulating the medial branches via a unique way, and this was studied by Chris Gilmore and colleagues out of Carolina, in which they did a prospective case series looking at this. There's also another procedure out there that looks at restorative rehabilitation of the multifidus muscle, and so there's some interesting concepts going on between the multifidus muscle, the medial branch, analgesia, improvements in function, et cetera. And we're trying to figure this out. What I love about this particular technique from this company is that it's a very, very simple, straightforward technique that can employ either fluoroscopy or ultrasound or both. And the concepts are very simple. And this is what was described by Dr. Gilmore. And basically what they did is, if a patient seemed to have posterior element pain, i.e. pain with extension, and did have, possible or, medial branch blocks that did confirm that this was facetogenic, what they did was they mapped out the area of pain. And they basically went to the midline of the area of pain and then determined where they were going to drop their needles and leads, whether it was L3, L4, L5 medial branch. And really, the sweet spot, at least for my practice, has been L4. We were just talking L5 for others and L3 for others. And that multifidus muscle, as you guys know, stretches from the superior lumbar levels all the way down. And it's got unique architecture as it heads down to S1. And what we're really trying to do is, whether it's via the nerve, via negative feedback, or via the muscle, via positive feedback, affect the way that individual feels their axial low back pain. So the actual procedure itself is really quite straightforward. Basically, what I've chosen to do here is look at the L4 vertebral body. As you can see here, we've lined up the end plates, relatively speaking. We've got the spinous process in the midline. And so for the left pedicle, as you can see there, what we're aiming for is basically the 4:30, 5 o'clock position of that pedicle. And I'm going to introduce the needle right to the lamina. So I'm just going to go a little bit more medial here. Sorry, it slipped a little bit. Yep, I like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. So those are the two needle locations. And if the camera can see here, what we have is the EPG from this company, which has a MagSafe connector, which is going to allow me to test stimulation once I get that down on the patient. So this is what the needle looks like with the introducer and the cannula. So this is everything put together. Here, I'll put it into the camera view so you can see it there. And then basically, you just go straight coaxial with the two needles. Now, you can do this with ultrasound, as I mentioned. And what the advantage of the ultrasound is, basically you can take a look at the multifidus muscle stimulation as we start to increase our stimulation. So obviously that's heading a little bit too medial. And I'm just going to put both needles in, make some adjustments here. That's heading too lateral, so we'll make an adjustment. All right. So I'm starting to, as we've talked about all day, is bone is home. So I know I'm on lamina. And so that needle on the right is a little bit too medial, so I'm just going to pick it up to the skin, pull the skin out laterally, and again, come down. I can feel that. And now the tip is too medial, so I'll just aim the tip lateral. Perfect. So really, it's where the tip is, not so much how the needle is situated. Again, I'm safe. I'm on lamina. I can feel that very strongly. I'm going to take the left needle, move that more medial. And so some of you might be asking, well, wait a second. We saw the lumbar neurotomy approach. The medial branch is on the junction of the transverse process and SAP. Why don't we just stimulate there? Why don't we put this lead right there? And the answer to that is because the field of stimulation is basically a 5 to 10 millimeter radius from the tip of the lead, you don't want unnecessary stimulation of the nerve root. So that technique is not going to be best suited for this particular therapy. Whereas if we place the lead at this location on the lamina, there is some guarding that occurs where we're really only getting the posterior nerves, and we're not at risk of getting the nerve root, i.e. causing a motor paresthesia or a sensory paresthesia, dysesthesia going down the leg, for example. So if you look at the tips of the needle, they're basically right at those locations as I would like. Would I like to be more coaxial? Sure, but again, it's really about where the tip is. And then the key thing here is you don't necessarily want to end up on the bone. You want to be just a couple millimeters back. So if you're off the bone a little bit, that's great. And the reason for that, again, is the distal projection of the stimulation. So if you're right on the bone, you're basically only creating stimulation on the bone and then the surrounding area. Whereas if you back up just a little bit, now you create that sphere of stimulation, which is really ideal. And obviously, it is uncomfortable for the patient to feel that. So I've got these connectors. Mason's next to me, and what he's got is a remote programmer. I don't know if you can come into the screen here, but we can show you what this looks like. Basically, it follows an intensity curve that is proprietary, going just anywhere from 0 to 100. And so what we look for is multifidus twitch as we start to increase. And we can look for this via two ways. One is seeing the needle twitch, and the other is via ultrasound. We can see that the changes in the myofascial layers. So obviously in this cadaveric patient, we're not going to really appreciate that twitch, but nonetheless, we're just telling you this is how we would test. And then I would check the other side. Again, MagSafe connector, do the other side, great. And we test, everything looks good. And then we say, great. So we disconnect, and then what I'll do is I'll leave the cannula in, and if I can get some clearance here, Victor, perfect. I'll take out these inner stylettes, stimulating electrodes, perfect. And then I'll take the leads, which have been preloaded, and what we'll show you again under the camera, if you can see that, there's a little tine coming out, or a hook. This is the anti-migration piece of this particular technology. You heard with SCS, DRG, there are anchors we place. With this particular therapy, there's that little hook at the end. So as long as we get that out, catches on the tissue, we pull everything out, and it just stays right where it's at. And really, it doesn't move. I have a patient who, off-label, is going beyond the 60 days, and it's just not moving at all. We've been checking periodically. Now, the on-labeling use for this particular therapy is for 60 days of therapy. And the reason for that is really just a concern about infection, but as I mentioned, that risk is extremely low. So then what we'll do is we'll just hold on to the cannula, we'll drop down the lead, and again, I just want to make sure everything looks good, and then I'll rotate it in place. I'll take a picture just to make sure my tips still look like they're in good position. It looks great as far as the right one. The left one, I can just make a little adjustment. I'll throw that down. Perfect. Again, we've done a great job here with lining that tine up. We'll just move everything out of the way here. Beautiful. And we'll just take a peek here. So a little bit lateral on that left one. I'm just going to make a slight angulation adjustment. Okay, so there we go. Looks good. You can see both under coaxial view. And then what we can do again, connect MagSafe, making sure the lead looks good. And again, we'd externally program. All right, we've got the twitches. Yay. Mr. Jones, I hope you are liking that. We'd check with the other one. Again, check for twitches. And now the fun part. So now we know our leads are good. And so what we'll do is we will cut here between the box and the lead. And of course, they're magnetic, which I love, which is really cool. And we'll take those off to the side. And Mason, if you don't mind popping those off. And what I'll do with the 4x4, this is the fun part, is that lead now has a tine, right, in the tissue, in the multifidus muscle. So what I'll do is I'll hold pressure on the multifidus, and then I'll pull back, and that didn't catch. So that can happen. Sometimes the lead won't catch onto the tissue as well. So we'll try that again. And on the right side, we'll, again, put down pressure, and I'll rotate. Just hopefully the lead will stay in place here, catching on. There we go. That's better. So that guy looked better. And I'll just load up that other side once again so we can get that lead back in. And again, this is so straightforward. You know, even if that happens, it's really not a big deal. It takes an extra minute, but generally it's pretty rare for that to occur. And we'll just get it right back on that lamina. Perfect. I like that. Again, we would just make sure everything looks good, test, take this out. Hopefully that's all loaded up again. Perfect. And because I already cut it, we'll just hope that this goes down the way it's supposed to. There we go. Okay. So that looks good. We'll check another fluoro. And it's a little bit lateral here. So I don't like to make too much adjustment with that tip sticking out. But again, we want to make sure we're in the right location target-wise. So I'm going to just rotate a little bit as I come out so that the actual tine stays in. And I don't know if there's any friction here between. Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to... There we go. There we go. That looks good. So good, leads are in place. Sometimes you can actually see the leads in place. There you go. You can actually see them on this fluoro shot right on the lamina there, so that looks great. And now we'll take our connector boxes, put them down. And this is the part where you need to have decent eyes. So you take that micro lead and you push it out the back. There we go. You take it down to about 2.5 centimeters, snap it down, and then there's a splitter cable, but we don't need to deal with that right now. Do it to the other side. Again, just good eyes here. And of course, we got the stickiness from all the stuff we've been doing. There we go. That pulls through. About 2.5 centimeters there. And you could pull this out if you really, really tugged, but quite frankly, even if you did a little bit of a tug, because of the elasticity in that tine, it's pretty hard to screw it up. So as you can see here, we got about 2.5 centimeters both sides. So what I like to do is sort of make them even. And you can see they're oriented in such a way. And then we'll cut off the backs of the lead. So basically, this lead coming off the back is unnecessary. I give it to the patients so they can look at it, see what's actually in their body, and they're always like, oh, that's really cool, it's really tiny. So there's the back. Then we take some Dermabond, and we basically drop a drop of Dermabond on each one of these insertion sites, and then we take a circle little cassette, which basically slides in like so. And that's beautiful. We'll take another circle cassette. Beautiful. Well, let's get this guy out of the way. Beautiful. And then we'll take our circular tegaderm. And again, this is all Dermabond. And the reason to have these tegaderms is that you obviously don't want to stick down over the insertion point. So I will just lay this down. We'll take this out of the way. And I won't stick this side down because you can see that insertion site's right there. So I'll take the second one. And you could cut this if you wanted, but basically there's no problem in just folding this over. And we'll make sure that goes down like so. And then obviously make sure you get all this, the border of the tegaderm off. But the key thing here is you don't want the tegaderm or anything to stick over that insertion point, because when you change this, which is usually every 3 days, the patient could pull out their lead. So obviously you need to keep an eye on that. But this is good. And that's what it looks like afterwards. So again, this will then, the patient can then have the connector box or EPG wherever they want, on their flank, their abdomen, as long as we can get the cables to run over. So that's what it looks like procedurally. If you want to take a fluoro shot, go ahead, Victor, there. You can see the leads, guys, right there, right on the lamina. So this is our medial branch peripheral nerve stimulation using the SPR Therapeutics device. Glenn, any questions from the audience? Or are they too blasted on all the beers?